So do we have any questions for Helen? Helen, there was that question about Compendia versus Pharmacopoeia versus Monograph versus...
Oh yes, oh yes. I can clarify that a little bit. The terminology. Sometimes before I give my lecture, I have terms about US speak, meaning the terminologies that we use because they are not familiar.
Yeah.
When we talk about the pharmacopoeia will include a collection of monographs and general chapters that form what you call the quality specifications, or the specifications that enable you to determine the quality of a substance in the case of US pharmacopoeia. When you talk about compendia is a collection of works, is a collection of books. So when I'm talking about compendia, even though now we don't have the USP pharmacopoeia as books, it still forms a compendia. So initially it was books that you could physically use, but now obviously everything is going online. So that is what that means. And also on the tail end of that, I saw a question about whether if one wants to develop a monograph, they would have to include everything that I talked about. First, I'd like to say that, when we talk about a monograph, again, a monograph, like David mentioned before, is a collection of writings. It's like a recipe. So it depends on what you are interested in. Are you interested in developing a quality monograph, which would be a collection of specifications and the testing procedures and the acceptance criteria to enable you to determine quality? Or are you interested in writing a monograph that tells somebody about the pharmacological activity of a botanical and how it's used to make medicine, for example, giving the recipe or the formulary for making the medicine? So depending on what you want to do, then you'll decide what should be included there. In the case of USP, we are interested we develop monographs for quality, meaning that our monographs are intended to help users determine the quality of whatever substance they're looking at. So our monographs will be used by, say, regulators to ensure that they have the right material, used by labs that are doing quality control to ensure that they have the right ingredient when they begin their process and at the end of it all. So that's why we have specific tests with specific acceptance criteria for each of the tests, which matches the quality. And in the case of USP, as I explained, the tests will usually refer to the general chapters. So you don't, when you have the monograph, you can't use the monograph without understanding the general chapters and the general notices, because you are always referred back within the monograph, you are referred to the general chapter. So you also need to understand the general chapters as well, and also understand the general notices.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And it means you need to love reading, because I must say that, I was a pharmacist, and I just used to cut to the chase, to the recipe, to make the stuff. Yeah. And there's another book that we will also talk about, which, another initiative. So this is just for South African plants. And obviously ours is complementary to this one because we are looking at African plants. Okay, any question for Uli? I know that Denzel asked about possible collaborations between USP and AMPS. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I can talk to that.
Okay.
Well, I think Denzel and I actually have spoken in the past, many years back. Probably doesn't remember. I don't know if you remember, but it has been my passion to make sure that AMPS writes the monographs. As you know, for those of us in the area, if it's not written, it was not done, and if things are not recorded, we are losing a lot of information from traditional healers, and we need to have some record somewhere. Now, having said that, yes, there is possibility for some form of collaboration, but we can talk details about that. later on, because right now USP is actually hoping in the few coming years to establish an expert panel or with members from Africa to infuse the development of monographs for plants coming from Africa.
But so, Helen, the collaboration is started, because collaboration starts, it's like a dance, right? So we've invited you to our home, and next time you'll invite us to your home. And I think the training that, for me, it's more important that we start with training and getting people to understand, and so I'm really happy that you've come through. So that's great.
And just now that you mentioned that, I should mention here that actually we've been very interested in collaboration to the extent that we had visiting scientists who came and worked with me. I think it was 2018 or 19. I've lost the years now.
Before
from
COVID.
South Africa. That's before. Okay, before COVID. BC. We had Matapelo Siopela. She came and worked with me for some time here on specific African plants. We haven't completed that work, so that was a very good beginning, and we hope that we can continue in that vein.
Yeah. So we work in Africa.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Leo, do you have a quick question before we move into?
Yes, Prof. There was a question in the chat box that says for business and trading purposes, which is why is a compendium important?
Good question. Why the pharmacopoeia? Let's call it pharmacopoeia. Compendium is a collection of different books. So let's talk about why is the pharmacopoeia important, quality pharmacopoeia important. The quality standards are important, especially public quality standards are important, because think about it this way. If different manufacturers have different standards for their products, it means that the quality of those products could be different. And imagine for consumers, when you go to buy something from the market and the quality is not, you don't know what quality it is. You can't even compare the substances in the market. So having a public standard that can be applied by the different manufacturers actually helps to the consumer in that they can be able to compare products across and be assured that if a particular product meets a certain quality standard, then it is of a good quality that they can trust. So that is the importance of adhering to public quality standards.
And it can be a non-tariff barrier, so we know that.
Yes, it can be. It can be. In fact, we've written, I think there was a paper that was written in the, I can't remember now, botanical. But I can send you the paper.
All right, thank you. Uli, your hand.
Yes, just a quick comment on Helen talking about standards and making sure that we have always got the same thing as being a mark of quality. I fully agree on that. And sometimes, however, that becomes very difficult because there is a difference between a monograph where a pure species is being described and then what has been in the trade. And one example here from South Africa is the agatosma oil, the puhu oil, which when it was introduced to an international audience actually consisted of varying blends of at least 2 different species. And people got used to that. And I just recently had an interaction with a very big flavor house in France on puhu oil who said, give me some agatosma betulina oil. And I gave them a pure oil. And then they tasted it and said, "Oh, this is not betulina. It's not the real thing." And I said, "Well, sorry to say, but this is the real thing." So, what is sometimes in the trade may not be a pure sample that is, or a pure ingredient that is comparable to the pharmacopoeia. And for the monograph there, and one needs to take that into account as well. I mean, other examples will be lavender or rosemary or many of these essential oils. They, depending on where they come from or what, you've got high camphor, low camphor variants, verbenone, high rosemary, etc. and suddenly you way out of the specification of the monograph. Just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. All right, thank you very much. Now we're going to go into the quick fire. So when you see me put on my camera, then please try to wind up, right? So we have Eswatini represented by Rachel Okuntade. Thank you very much, Rachel. And then we're going to have Madagascar, Kenya. I'm not sure if we have Cameroon. So we have like, you know, three, four countries. Yeah, so there you go. We want you to tell us about Eswatini, and we've specifically put together a small list of things that we really want to know, because we want to grow the industry. You know, forget about how many papers you publish. We want to grow the African herbal industry. So this is what we want to know. Do you want, if you know, you're free to share if you have a slide or just talk. Go ahead, Rachel. Thank you.